Yeah, I come flying out of the town hall.
I
got rid of the board, I had that board.
Yeah.
That's
That's good.
We'll be on time.
We got a whole wrap.
That tracks girls away.
Oh, that-
It does, ladies love that.
Yeah, it's real.
You put that, and, Senator,
Finally got my,
It's so fun that we got the town hall.
then you've got a
Oh, you're drunk.
Yeah, John, I
got a permit.
Is that like you got called?
Well, what you said, but then I got the big, it was a big, I only paid like $3.
You know what I got?
That's a real good.
No, I can't make you.
What
What do I do? I don't trust. More than what we wanted.
So we'll check it out and see.
You know what I mean?
That's how they have one.
Okay. I guess I'm all set, thanks.
That don't sound right.
Kelly.
I think you'll need them for us. There you go, don't do it, whatever they want.
No. No, but I did this before.
Oh, you're not gonna say that.
But if you go online,
Don't say that.
Well, let's go to the 6/2015 meeting of the Foster Town Council to order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Announcements, I have an email from the Secretary of State's open meeting website indicating that this meeting was posted on the open meetings website at March 24th at 5 p.m. So we are in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. Also, I wanted to announce that Viola Olm, who was a long-term historian for the town of Foster, has recently passed away. So I'd like to have a moment of silence in her honor, please. Thank you. Public comment? May I have the sheet? Lynn Ryder?
I just wanted to mention, I believe I sent you an email, John, that a Foster Farm is being featured in the Rhode Island PBS channel's series, Harvesting Rhode Island. And it is the food, farm to table, I think, particular episode. And the people who own the farm also own a restaurant in Providence. And it's about that.
It's on television? Or?
Yeah, I think the last showing of that particular episode would be on tomorrow night, no, Saturday night at 11 on, for me, Fires, 508. But it's the Maple Dell Farm.
Always good to get local publicity. Okay, minutes for March 12th.
Make a motion that we accept the minutes from March 12th as presented.
Second by Mr. Laws, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Warrants, payroll warrant 36.
I make a motion that we accept payroll warrant number 36 in the amount of $31,383.93.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Payroll warrant 37.
I make a motion that we accept payroll warrant number 37 in the amount of $26,252.92.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 17.
I make a motion that we accept general warrant number 17 in the amount of $76,294.38.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye. John, I'll be recusing myself from this one instead of the audience.
Okay. Motion for general warrant 17 carries unanimously. General warrant 17A.
I make a motion that we accept general warrant 17A in the amount of $400.
Is there a second? Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 4-0, 1 recusal. Beautiful. Okay, monthly reports.
I make a motion that we accept the following monthly reports as presented. Building and Zoning Department, Department of Public Works, Finance Department, Human Services, Planning Department, Police Department, Rhode Island Resource Recovery Corporation, Tax Assessor.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Old business, volunteers to the Town Charter Review Committee. Who remembers we made some appointments at the last meeting, we only had 4 applicants at the time. And we wanted to have an odd number of folks on the committee. At this point, we have 4 additional individuals who have applied. Bob Boyden, Tiny Rogers, Bobby DiPaolo, and Alex Pappas.
I would like to appoint Bobby DiPaolo as the 5th member of that commission.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
And it seems to be happening a lot. It's kind of like I wanted to discuss things showing up at council meetings that we didn't get in the packet the last time. I didn't think it was going to continue, but I see several times tonight, it's important. I do my paperwork a lot, and I make phone calls when I see, ask me for any questions, I'd like to apply for this and that, and I make the phone calls and I call. It's very difficult to do that when we show up and we have requests to be appointed to positions. The minute we sit down, and we started 5 minutes ago, and we're making appointments, and 2 of them that are in front of us, I haven't had the opportunity to call and talk to people. Few concerns, like a lot of times, especially pertaining to the charter review, a lot of people would have to know the history of the town. Certain people, if you live here a year or 2, you don't understand how we, in a position we are, such as the capital improvement fund and how it operates and why it's not funded correctly. It takes quite a bit of stuff to understand where to fix our problems. And that's where charter amendments come from. So I definitely have a problem looking at things popping up the minute we show up. It doesn't make my job easier. It makes it almost impossible to make a concerned decision. That's all I wanted to say at this point. Two of them did pop up in tonight, and one popped up in a further appointment. So that's all I have.
I don't know where you're coming from, Mr. Rogers,
I didn't think you would.
but I happen to be a Democrat, and I just nominated a Republican.
So you're making this political? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not making it political, I'm trying to tell you.
My statement had nothing to do with politics, Republican or Democrat. It just so happens that Mr. DiPaolo is one that's in here also, and I am a Republican. So that was my concern, and I will be voting no on this because it's one of the ones that popped up in my folder tonight, as will the next one we address later on in the night, if it's put up.
Well, of the applicants, I think at least three of them, Mr. Boyden, Mr. Rogers, and Mr. DiPaolo have been involved. They have lived in the town for years. I think everybody knows them. I'm not familiar with Mr. Pappas personally, but at least three of these people, I think, meet the
It's the
criteria.
procedure I have a problem with, not the people.
Okay, is there any further discussion?
And I guess to that point, I don't know if there's necessarily any rush to appoint anybody. This is obviously a significant decision. The town charter is an important document. So I don't see if there's necessarily any issue with closing applications and giving another week or so to think about this.
I do. We appointed 4 people previously without any discussion, without any further discussion. I'm not sure what, I feel that we would be singling out the people that have applied now. And I understand what you're saying, Mr. Rogers.
They were in the packet.
They were in the packet, but I feel that by delaying it, it would be singling out those people. So, but I understand what you're saying, Mr. Rogers, and if the council wants.
My motion stands.
People want to have something to say? Or wait till Denise is finished?
No, I don't.
John,
Yes,
does it have to be 5 people, or can you put 7 people maybe on it?
it should be an odd number, so that things don't deadlock with the tie. It should be 5, or 3, or 7.
That's what-
The larger you make it, the more cumbersome it is, and the more difficult it is to get a quorum. So there's nothing saying it couldn't be larger. I'm not really inclined to make it larger than 5, just because
I
I
just
think.
didn't know if there was a certain number or.
No, not for the charter review commission, for certain boards that have indicated in the charter, but not for the charter.
Do you have alternates maybe?
I don't know that we've ever done that. If somebody can't function, they resign and the council will fill that position. Any additional comment? Mrs. Duran?
Yes, I understand what Mrs. DeStefano is saying, that the first 4 pieces.
No, DeFranco.
DeFranco, I'm sorry.
That's okay, I know who you were talking about.
With the first 4 people. But it was agreed upon at the last meeting that it should be an odd number. And like Mr. Rogers said, the first 4 people were already in the packet and they had time to make phone calls or whatever, do research into these people. I think if, for no other reason than the face of it, that I tend to agree with Mr. Rogers, they should, in my opinion, they should be tabled till the next meeting, just for the mere face of the issue, my opinion.
Further discussion? Okay, and I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of appointing Mr. DiPaolo to the Charter Review Commission, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion carries 4-0. Okay, welcome, Bobby.
4-0?
4-1, I'm sorry. The next item on the agenda is really just an announcement for public. The council previously approved a Roadkill Spring Classic bike race, essentially through Foster, which was supposed to take place on this weekend on the 29th. It was going to go through Foster and Coventry denied them permission based upon the condition of the road. Earlier this week, Chief Zeal and Joe Cardillo rode the route that they were supposed to be taking, and our roads are in as bad shape as Coventry's. They're muddy, they're rutted, they're frozen, there's still too much snow. So they were told this, and they have retracted. They've canceled the race. So we will not be having the roadkill race this weekend. No action required. Number C, request for use of the townhouse and fairgrounds for the Grimley Hearn wedding. And this was on hold, that Mr. Rogers, you asked to have this put back on?
Yes, I feel 3 phone calls. Some people were under the sting that it was denied, and I did inform them that it wasn't. And they are under a time frame for us to make a decision to get their invitations out. And I need to get it on here so we can discuss why it's on hold, or we're going to move forward. And again, I don't know if anybody's here from the family. That was also a problem last time that I told the 3 people that called me that we had questions and nobody was on the other end to
John, may I address that?
Sure.
Because it's definitely what we're doing right now. The reason it's on hold is because you, Mr. Rogers, and other people in the audience brought up 3 or 4 different scenarios of liability. And it was like the law school 101. What if they trip? What if they fall? What if they're here? What if they're there? What if this? What if that? Seeing we can't answer those and know what's going to happen, and we also have the addition of alcohol, which has not happened, and it's probably going to happen more and more with people try to come near their home to do things. I met with the trust, with Kelly also. We met on several different issues, and Jane came in after I met with her on this issue. There is something called a TULIP program. It's an acronym for a liability insurance policy that's an individual event. Other cities and towns do it, and I believe that's what everybody keeps referring to the old home days, and they have insurance. That's what they do, but they have a very high insurance premium, I wouldn't ask anyone else. The town clerk is technically the keeper of the properties, buildings, grounds, everything, so it should go through her. I believe that Carol Morrow handles one, Woody Loudon for some reason. And when I went in, much to my surprise, there's no written policy at all. So all this time, we've been okaying things, and there's been no written policy. So we obviously have to correct that. We sat down, they're going to give us, in the next few days, because I told them, time is of the essence, we've got more and more requests, we have to do this now. Within the next few days, the trust is giving us brochures that when someone comes in and makes a request, they will get a brochure from the trust that says this is the town's property, this is the type of insurance the town has through us, this is what you should do if you need insurance. Now Jane will be able to say to them, if you have homeowners or you can afford to get insurance on your own, you can do that. If you can't, the trust through a website, and it's all inclusive, boom, you go on the website, you pay a nominal fee, I think like $100 was the highest one if you got alcohol and caterers and all that. And they will issue you a policy, and then they automatically send an email to the town. So everything is done for us. We don't have to do anything, okay? Then the discussion turned to, and this is why it probably wasn't raised before, if you're gonna single out one property or one grounds of the town, you can't do that. It has to be for everyone, resident and non-resident. It has to be for each property that could be used in the town. So it was mentioned that people do birthday parties for small children at Woody Loudon. Don't expect to see alcohol there, but a kid could stand on a table, jump off, and smash their head. So they too are going to have to deal with whatever the minimal insurance is. Now the trust representative told me that not everyone has to pay for everything. There will be literally a menu. Are you going to have more than 100 people? Are you anticipating alcohol? Are you anticipating outdoors, indoors? Are you going to go at night? And all these factors are going to amount to the premium, okay? So it will be very reasonable, they've told me. And if someone has homeowners or their own insurance for whatever reason, for example, the caterer, and again, I was provided with no detail of this wedding other than we want to use the property. And I absolutely couldn't make a decision on that. I didn't even see alcohol anywhere in the 3 lines I was given. You can say to them, look, if you're going to have alcohol and you've got a caterer, the caterer has their own insurance. So the people could work with them. They might choose to do that. I mean, we're not going to get involved there, but they need to prove to us that they have something. The trust said, if someone sends in a policy and says, I have my own insurance, they will check it immediately for her and let her know. If not, you offer them this pamphlet, you go online, click through, pay it to the trust. You don't have to pay us. They issue a policy, they send an automatic email to us, we have it. No permit to use it should be had unless they have the insurance. But again, then you have to do it, everybody, which I'm sure in the past has probably created an uproar. But it's got to be all the properties, all the buildings, everybody. Now, the town clerk, just like the council and the zoning board does with other types of special use permits, can set other criteria. Okay, now that we're getting into people wanting to do weddings on the grounds and stuff, okay, how many people? We can sit down, and the council can sit down or assign it to the clerk, because it is hers, technically it's her purview by the charter. How many people? If you're talking over 150, the police chief's going to want to be called, because now maybe we're going to tell them you need a detail officer. But we can set that down, so that's still with us. But if you say insurance policy, which I think that's what you were driving at, and we have to do, across the board, for everybody, can be handled through the trust or through the person themselves if they want to try it. They send it to Jane when they ask for the property, she checks it to make sure through the trust that it's good. So the number one thing is that liability, and it doesn't have to be, I think the fair has like 3 million, which is the highest because of all the rides and everything. Obviously, a person doesn't have to do that, but they will go to like $1 million because that's what the town has to cover that grounds. So we can institute that program within a couple of days, and I think we should, starting right now. Have them do it, and if you want to set additional criteria, I think you can do it, or Jane should be able to do it through you, because she is really the keeper of those properties. And I know I've talked to the chief already, he said after 100 people, 125 people, we want, yeah, maybe a detail or whatever, and then up from there, which you've done before with liquor licenses or special events or whatever. It's considered a one-time special event. If somebody wants it more than a one-time special event, they're in a different category, again.
Okay, so beyond the liability insurance issue, if they want to serve alcohol, and they do, they communicate with that with Jane, does that require us to issue a specific liquor license, or would that be covered under the caterer's license?
I wouldn't say a liquor license, it's a one-time
Yes.
event.
Well,
And the caterer, yes, should, because you're not gonna serve alcohol at any of these unless somebody's tip certified and has the proper things going on, which is state regulated. We can't excuse them or not from something like that.
So it wouldn't require us to issue a separate liquor
No,
license?
they have to prove to us that they have a caterer license to do that, or else no alcohol.
They've also indicated to Jane that they want outdoor music, either disc jockey or live music, maybe both. To run.
It's the first I heard.
I think it's the first we heard.
Yeah, that's why I hesitate to answer any fact pattern, because the pattern is growing.
I mean, it's a wedding reception, so I suppose they don't want music, sure. Until, I think they said maybe up until midnight.
They said it would be perhaps 5 o'clock until midnight that this event would take place, but I talked to the groom-to-be today, and he's like, well, we think, maybe, we're not 100% sure. So this is still developing in their minds, really? They haven't selected.
And I don't see how this council or you could give them any license to do anything or any permit unless they know what they're doing. Now you're talking after dark, you're talking midnight, we don't know.
So could we tonight approve a vote to allow them to use the townhouse for the wedding ceremony? Just go that far?
With the consistent regulations, that's always been no
Right, with the-
food in there.
And within the.
Right, within the fire
capacity
code,
of the
in the fire
building.
Could we approve the building for the ceremony, make no mention of the grounds, deal with that at a separate evening when we get all the questions
Yeah.
answered?
They need to give exact
And then they can get
detail.
their ducks up. There seems to be a communication breakdown between, number one, it doesn't help when they don't show up when it's on the agenda.
Is there anyone here from the family? Just.
I mean, if they're calling you 3 times a week, then
No, I said 3 different people called. It's
then
kind of, it's an old family from town, that's been around.
That's great.
They've been around a long time, so.
you can't carry the burden of
No,
explaining.
I just
why.
asked, I told, they had said it was, I got 3 phone calls, why was this denied? I said, it's not been denied. I'll get it back on the agenda, we need to do further discussion. I said the questions that I was honest with, alcohol was brought up, nobody was there to respond to it. We also,
How many?
how many people, nobody was there to respond, so it's a two-way street. I said, but I'll get it on the agenda, and
And they
see
still
if we can
didn't
get
show
some.
up to-
No.
This is why I hesitate to answer questions off the cuff.
And that was the problem
It's
last time.
developing as we go. It may turn into a, oh, by the way, we want to raise money without letting for a,
But I think what
project
John said is
Band-Aid
kind of
and
something
2,000
we can do
people
now
show.
that's safe, and it's, at least gives you.
They can have the building for the ceremony, we make no permissions for use of the fairgrounds for the.
No, because we don't have
Reception.
enough.
For the reception until such time as we get all of the information in a nice place language. That's it, that's okay?
I'll second that motion, if it's a motion.
It is a motion.
Second.
Is there discussion on that motion?
Do we charge?
I think we charge a little deposit just for clean, making sure that they leave it in the same
I
condition.
don't think we've done it for the townhouse, we do it for Woody Loudon certainly, but I don't know that we've gotten enough requests since I've been here to use the townhouse for anything other than a town commission or the council.
This is another thing we discussed, again,
The-
overall, it's gonna be a security deposit, depending on the building and not who it is or anything else. I suggest you always take a damage deposit, because when you deal with historic building to be returned.
Mrs. Ryder?
When you say damage deposit, would they also have to get one? I mean, just because it's out on the grounds, and I assume you're probably gonna have little kids or older kids, and, you know, you have the 4-H owns the, or at least, you know, they put up the animal pens. And you've got, you know, the picnic tables over in,
It's very fluid, it could spill out to a parking lot.
right, and
then
maybe
that
they're
would
not
be
gonna
fun.
use the picnic tables, but they're stacked very nicely. That makes climbing just look like a fun thing.
There you go,
So, I
attractive
mean,
nuisance,
yeah,
that's the
So,
town, we're insured for that. Yeah, I mean, it's a very fluid situation, and I suggest that, and Jane's been questioning them, they need to set parameters. What are you talking about, how many people and exactly where? And then they should be told, when you say the fairgrounds, inside the fairground. Doesn't mean climbing on trucks in the DPW, it doesn't mean a parking lot, it doesn't mean back anywhere else. They're gonna stay on the fairgrounds.
And I don't think it's unreasonable for us to set our own parameters as well. If we, instead of waiting for them to tell us how late they want to use it, we can say how late they're allowed to.
You could set general parameters for each property if you choose. And as I said, she's an elected official, the charter responsibility for keeping the keys, if you will, if the buildings falls to her, she could do so herself. And then I guess through the council, but if you choose to, more the merrier.
Okay. So the motion is that we grant use of the townhouse alone for the ceremony. No mention is made at the fairgrounds, no permission is granted for any reception afterwards.
Not to exceed.
Not to exceed the fire code limit of that building. So if this does pass, if you could just check that number, and when you call them to tell them it's
Should
been
be posted
granted.
It's posted.
It is, it's posted in, I just don't recall what it is, it's 100 plus.
Upstairs.
Right, and they can't go upstairs. They can't use the bathroom. That's, we don't allow that for anybody, so. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Okay. Next item, appointment of EMA director.
I make a motion that we appoint the only one that was in our packet Tuesday when we picked it up, of Mike Dexter as EMA director for the town of Worcester.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second the discussion.
Okay,
I would like to, I do not know Mr. Dexter, so I would like to interview him, along with, I know we got a second, and I do feel strongly that we need to interview both candidates, that we do have an application for, or a letter of interest, I should say.
we do have actually 3 people who put in last month's or week's packet. It was Gunter Day, and
Well, then all three.
Mr. Michael Dexter, and Sharon Clark.
I would like to
I
interview.
think the question was the third one though, and the chief,
Yeah, I don't
Right, that's
disclose
been a-
particulars, but
Yeah.
it's an individual who applied.
And I'm more
was
than
not an
willing to
American
interview.
citizen.
I would like to interview all three.
Okay.
Just because the more and more I'm finding out about EMA director, it encompasses quite a bit, as I'm sure many people already know. And I feel that we need to get someone that's a best fit for the town. So I would like to propose interviewing those 3 candidates
So you seconded the motion, which
for
means
discussion.
the discussion. So is there further discussion? Okay, so if we agree with appointing Mr. Dexter, as indicated, made a motion by Mr. Rogers, you would vote aye. If you think we should interview, then you would vote nay. All those in favor of making the appointment?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Motion fails, 1 in favor, 4 in opposition. Do you want to make a formal motion to interview?
I would make a motion to interview the 3 candidates that have expressed an interest in the position of the EMA director before appointment.
Is there a second? Discussion?
Now that the council's making a motion to interview people, are we gonna ask them to come in front of us, or, I know before, everybody pretty much leaves their number, we contact them, which is a lot.
I would prefer to have a formal interview.
Have
I think
them come
this is-
in.
I think that
Well,
would be
seeing
best.
how we're making the motion, I think that's the procedure you were going at. and
Yes.
We're gonna do it, I'd rather
Yes,
see it done.
instead of calling somebody.
That's a group.
I don't do well over the phone. I'd rather see somebody's face. I think that gives me a little bit more of a feel of the person. So I would prefer doing it, they come before the council.
Okay, I have to point out something.
Go ahead.
Unlike what most people think, the Open Meetings Act does not apply only to personnel. The act actually says persons. If you are gonna talk about physical or mental health of anyone, or
Executive
prior
session
jobs,
interviews?
you would have to offer them executive session.
I think we've done that in the past,
So-
yeah, that's fine. We just have to post it as a meeting with an executive session for interviews for the position. All right, further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of conducting interviews?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 5-0. New business. Jane, if you could contact those folks and let's just, before I move on, when do we want to do this? Do we want to do this in conjunction with our next meeting, come a little early and do it, or when do we want to do this? Do we want to do this on the same night as the budget public hearing, a week from today, so we do it all in one night? Like, is it-
If we do it all in one night, say one of them or several of them might be working, so
They might. We can shoot for something.
I just want to make it some are working, that we make a commitment to hold off till that one has an available time to speak.
Oh, of course.
That's reasonable. So we interview all three.
Yeah, because I think 2 of them that I know work days and nights, maybe different times. I know Sharon works a million hours, so she's hard to nail down on meetings, so.
So you're looking for next Thursday?
Well, I'm suggesting, it's not hard and fast, I'm just trying to, we don't want it to go months, right? We want to
No.
try to do it. We're having a meeting next Thursday night, a
Mhm.
public hearing for the budget. We could have an executive session immediately following that for interviews, since we're all, when we all will be here, wouldn't be another night out. If that works for folks.
What if, to make it a little more flexible, if we offer prior to the public hearing and after the public hearing? So that some people can come in earlier, or some people it's better for them to come after. Would that be,
What time is the public hearing posted for? 7 PM,
What's the date on that? That's the red,
April 2nd?
April 2nd.
April 2nd.
It's a week from today.
So if we said 6 o'clock?
She said starting interviews between 6 and 7, and then interviews after the public hearing. I don't know that it would go longer than an hour and a half. I mean, it's gonna go as long as people want it, so.
Right, so
Take
8:30,
Immediately following.
which might give them a time frame of 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Does that work for everyone? Jane, if you could give them a call and see if the 3 folks can fit in that time slot, either of those time slots. And get them, if we can't get all 3 that night, let's get what we can that night. And then on that night, we'll talk about how we pick up the 1 or 2 remainders. New business, additions and abatements from the tax. How did that go?
I make a motion that we accept the abatements as suggested by the tax collector for personal property year 2005 for the amount of $2,448.98. Do you want all one.
Yeah, well, I think we do all
Motor
those.
vehicle for the year 2005 in the amount of $9,569.76. Real estate for the year 2004 in the amount of $1,402.94. And the year 2005 in the amount of $1,758.22, for a grand total of $15,179.90.
For a second,
Second.
discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next item, DPW at Plainfield Pike Fire, Denise wanted to address
Yes, I
this.
did, and I apologize, I did not write a letter, but I will for our next meeting. I apologize for that.
Okay, so you just want to table this?
Yes, please.
We'll carry this till the next meeting.
Thank you.
Pole petition on Spur Road, we have a recommendation in our packet from the DPW director.
I make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the DPW director to install or the installment of a mid-span pole at pole 15.5 on the southerly side of Spur Road.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Appointment, review of dispatchers negotiation committee. Jordan, you wanted to just discuss this?
Yeah, recently I've had my hours going from almost nothing to 80 to 90 hours a week. I take things very seriously. My attendance, since I've been elected and previously when I was elected, I did not miss hardly a single meeting, budget workshop, contract talks I was involved in. So I have yet to miss any budget workshops or council meetings or anything since I've been elected this time. It's just unexpected that I've had so much work piled up on me right now unexpectedly that I don't think I can give it my full commitment. And I'm afraid I might miss meetings, and I don't like doing that, seeing how I'm being a general point on that. So I did attend the last meeting, and we did decide to meet again next Monday. I will commit to that meeting, but I was just hoping somebody else could step in because it's a lot on my table right now. And again, I don't like missing any meetings and doing things 50%, 80%, or 90%. I like doing 100%.
It's a matter of scheduling of the meetings? With the time of day?
No, because they're at 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. I make many meetings, engineering board, president of that, and like I said, with the additional 40 hours a week that's been piled on for my business, it's just a lot. So, I mean, it's not so much the timing, it's the amount of food on the table.
And so, that's the information of the council. Are you, so let me be clear, are you requesting someone to step in and
Yeah.
ask for volunteers, and if no one steps up, you'll keep doing it, or are you resigning?
I will try, and I already said I'll commit to the meeting we scheduled for this Monday.
Okay. Anybody interested in taking this on?
I know Denise and Roger on, and John's on. I don't think you're on it, are you, John?
I'm not on the negotiating committee, I did 3 last year, I'm not on the negotiating committee.
I can't accept it tonight. I don't know what's gonna happen, but after next week, I could maybe take it, but that's a maybe, I don't know.
Why don't we, Mr. Rogers has said he's gonna go to the next meeting.
It's Monday, because Tuesday, I'm in cardiac refresher course, which is 4 hours, and I'm using my skills in it, So I do have a lot, and I will make next Monday if somebody will step in, but.
All right, so why don't we do that? Why
I
don't
need
you
to
go to
be
next
replaced
Monday?
after that.
Roger and I will talk, and
Okay.
we'll make a decision at our next meeting. Check.
Okay.
You see,
Yep,
the
thank you.
inclination zone. She won't do it. No, nobody should do it. Okay, we have another request for use of the fairgrounds. I have an email from the Kibble Closet. Would like to reserve the fairgrounds for Saturday, September 12th, to have a pet rescue and information event day. They would have local rescues and shelters attend to give out information and advice to prospective adopters. They would also like to feature some local veterinarians, other specialty groups to inform the public of pet health issues, and local merchants could have booths if they like. That's the proposal of the request. Is there anyone here from Kibble Closet?
Jules.
What is, does anyone have any questions, or is there any?
Would you like a motion first?
Sure, you can make a motion first if you like. Maybe put it on the table.
I make a motion that we grant the Kibble Closet use of the fairgrounds on Saturday, September 12, 2015.
Second that motion.
Okay. Discussion.
What were the hours that you're thinking?
We're thinking about 9 to 6, and also we've looked into insurance, but we're open to discussing what you presented tonight as well.
Based upon our discussion, I'm glad you were here. I think no one should be allowed to use it until we get the brochures, which is only a few days, or no one should be granted, I should say, granted permission separately right now. So we get the brochures, everyone is then gonna have to comply, which brings me to the last line of your letter, also local merchants. That's so wide open that it's gonna cause an issue, because that local merchant could be a pizza place that's serving food, you know? We don't really know, so you're gonna have to really either kind of knock that out or
List them.
redefine exactly
List them.
what you mean, you know?
No pizza.
If you're talking food, if you're talking, you know, retail, I don't
Well,
know.
can we serve food there as well? I mean, is that possible?
Well, it's not that you can or can't, the point is, you have to know exactly what you want, and then we're gonna go down the trust list of
Okay.
things that you're doing, and then deal with the insurance rider that way.
I think we're mostly thinking about different, the groups having their own tables and they could sell things for donations, that kind of thing. I don't think businesses coming in, I guess I wouldn't want, not businesses coming in, but each rescue or shelter or animal group might want to sell t-shirts and things like that.
So more fundraising items. And then are you talking about retail? Somebody might come in and have dog sweaters that they want to sell, so need to just narrow it down, and it's gonna have to be requested in writing. Do you have a form developed at all for a
No,
request?
not yet.
Okay.
As we speak.
Quick. Pretty quickly, and I'm glad you're here because you're saying this is news. Apparently, the council did one by one before with Mr. Rogers and others talking about liability, so then we have to know exactly what's gonna go on. That's under your control. I mean,
Right.
sometimes you can't control. But who you're inviting and what you intend to do,
Okay.
and you're gonna develop, right, you are, something right away, so you can tell us that in writing, not off the cuff. And we'll go with, most important, the liability insurance from there.
I think what you've said about the liability insurance is going through you folks is so much easier than going on your own.
And I think it's gonna be reasonable, I really do, for something like that, no alcohol, and, you know, not at night and all that. I think it'll be reasonable, this will be the first one as well.
The other thing that we usually ask anyone who's using the fairgrounds is what facilities do they have for restrooms? So we usually bring in a porta-john, a couple of porta-johns. The old home days does, people that use it, the recreation committee, when they have it, porta-johns.
I think Jules is, you got plenty of time, so September
Right.
12th gives you
Right.
quite a bit of time to get your legwork done, which I really don't think is gonna be a lot of legwork. It's more of us not giving you we've gotta get our stuff straightened out first before you can go through the procedure. It seems like we're on it, so.
So,
Been doing it.
Yeah.
so if we, If we table this evening until we work out that policy, does that
That's
present
fine, yeah,
any
just let me
issues?
know.
Yep, I'll let you know.
I'd like to have some kind of guideline to go by too, that makes it a lot easier.
When is sort of your drop dead date? You need to know by
July.
July 1st or July 31st?
No, in a month or so is fine.
Okay, so sometime by July.
We can pencil her in for that date as
Yeah,
well,
we'll-
so that
we'll-
nobody
so
would be
no one
given
else takes it.
that first option.
Yes.
Would you like me to withdraw my motion?
Yeah, we can do it that way. I think
I'll
that's-
withdraw the second.
Okay. So that will be tabled until such time as we get the liability policy. Okay, the last item, updates of personnel rules and regulations. This is something that I'm recommending. One of the, and essentially this is, the genesis of this is because we've had such difficulty in bringing in a new building and zoning director, and it seems like we need to increase the hours in order to attract somebody. But if we increase the hours, even 1 hour, that makes that individual eligible for medical benefits at 21 hours, and then we can't afford it. So you see in front of you a document where I handwritten in, because I was too lazy to type it. I've handwritten in a new clause to the personnel rules and regulations, which would be a new section 401.03, part-time medical benefits eligible employees. All, and it uses the language from the previous paragraph. All town elected and appointed officials and town employees who are regularly scheduled to work a minimum of 30 hours for their department per week for 52 weeks per year with regularly defined duties and hours of employment shall be considered part-time medical benefits eligible. And in addition to these benefits described in section 401.02 above, shall be entitled to receive the following prorated benefits: medical, vision, and dental benefits. So I just have two things to say about it. Currently, the individuals receive holiday sick leave, workers' comp, TBI, jury duty, bereavement leave, military training leave, etc. at 21 hours. And also medical, vision, and dental. And that has hindered us from bringing anybody in with more hours. This change would allow us to expand the hours of employment for essentially any part-time position in town and not incur medical benefit costs until we work more. No. I have to amend this 30 hours that I put here is not in alignment with Obamacare, so I have to make that, amend that to say 29 hours. So 30 hours a week, they're eligible under Obamacare. So if we say 29, then we're square with the feds. They will increase our
That's my only
positions.
issue.
What is it?
That was my only issue.
We'll be able to be square with the feds, be able to increase the hours of that position and not incur potentially $15,000 in additional expense. What you see deleted in the footnote on the other pages is really the formula that was used for giving, paying for medical benefits for someone who works 20 hours, etc. So it would just be prorated based on the 29 hours. We recommend this in order to allow us to expand those positions.
I do have one question. Is this going to affect the dog officer who is 26 hours?
That's good.
I would suggest, and I'll make it as part of the motion to adopt this, that it would if we adopted it without grandfathering in it. It doesn't affect any of the part-time employees in the town hall right now, the assessor, or the planner, or the building zone inspector is not there, or the human services director. It would have an impact on the public works director, so I'm sorry.
So your motion would be to grandfather anybody currently?
Easy to confuse us.
Let me make the motion.
It wouldn't work against anybody currently
Well,
here anyway. You can't
correct.
make it
Well,
retrospective.
Depending on how you make the motion, for example, if we have some bill inspectors at 24 or whatever it is, if they're currently working and we increase their hours to 27 or 28, We're just gonna make sure we don't word it where any new hires fall under this.
Right, I would, well, there's already language in here that says March 6, 2002. I would say, my motion will be to adopt these changes with the $29 limit simultaneously to grandfather the existing animal control officer based on his long-term tenure with the town.
Second that motion.
Discussion?
The only thing I would like to add is, and I said this when we were dealing with the planner before, what you tell them they can work is fine, but what they in fact work is what controls for Obamacare. So if you tell someone you only work in 28 hours, but they consistently put in 35, 35 controls.
For a period of 6
So,
months.
no matter what it says here, if they consistently actually work more than 29 or 30 hours, that's what's gonna control under Obamacare.
If they work and we pay them for it?
Yes.
Okay, so as long as we're not authorizing payroll warrants to pay people extra money.
No,
No, go ahead, say that's.
I believe if they work and they come.
Well, I don't think we can.
Well, if they go home and do something.
If they volunteer their time.
No, that's a whole
No.
different scenario.
Would we not have to approve them working over the hours
For the comp time.
Yes.
for their comp time? So we would
But
have
what
to
I-
approve that.
What I'm trying to say to you is, and I use the word limit, which is hugely important here. Your personnel is putting a limit on these positions. But if you exceed that limit regularly, I don't care what you do with them, under Obamacare, they're entitled at some point. So as long as you.
So, yeah.
We have to understand that there's a limit and ensure that folks don't go over.
We have to use it.
Consistently, right?
I'm on it.
Kelly's on that one.
That's not
Well,
payroll.
red alarm
Yeah.
thing, yeah.
I keep comp time records for that reason.
Because there is an argument that even if it's comp time, it doesn't matter if they're paid or not. If they're working consistently
True.
over an hour, they're gonna fall under that Obamacare.
There's arguments for part-time teachers that would include their planning time at home and stuff like that. So there's a whole calculation that you have to look
I just
into.
don't want you lulled in a false sense of security that you've got this in the personnel and then they can't claim anything after.
It's a subtly different issue. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried unanimously. Okay. Now we are going to do our budget workshop. And there were two budget hearings, and Chief is bringing us
These were done.
Can you talk about the future agenda items that don't get into it?
Sure, if you would like, sure.
So for the future agenda item, one of the things we were given in the past, the Charter Commission volunteers needed, there was to go into the paper, that's what was placed for the volunteers. On the back side is for wishing to suggest changes to the charter.
To solicit.
So I would like that to be on the agenda for the
Okay, so
next,
that's,
so that we can get that moving.
Okay, so that would be advertisement for charter amendment proposal?
Yes,
Okay.
and there's a whole thing changing one, you just gave it to us, I found it.
Okay, and that was, is there anything else?
I did not have anything, that was mine.
You had mentioned, Gordon, at a meeting in the past that Mike Chippendale wanted to come in, but
Yeah, he's scheduled, he has a window, and he can be here April 9th to discuss roadmap Rhode Island. I'm getting a lot of concern from people that
Okay.
really want to listen to what he says.
That's what I wanted to know today, April 9th. He'll be here.
And, yes, he's committed along with another guy, Gary Moss, that knows quite a bit about it, who Mike said, he's the, if you want somebody to know about it, he's going to be here with Mike discussing and giving you information.
Should we invite someone from statewide planning?
Why
So
not?
they can have their side?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Just to be,
Yep,
diplomatic. Let them be here.
I know Mike has looked into it.
They may not come, we'll.
Yeah, it might have,
They may not, they won't come. That's
but
okay.
at least offer the gesture. Absolutely.
If the biggest concern is CDE, I could see it someone from CDE office.
Well, the concern is roadmap Rhode Island. I mean,
Right,
that,
I know, but if.
that has tentacles that go everywhere, so if that was the case, I mean, we're just gonna address roadmap Rhode Island. I'm sure that may be part of the discussion among many other things.
We'll check. If there seems to be somebody who should be here, there's no reason why we couldn't be here. Okay, so.
I keep seeing police station for future agenda items.
Yeah, I want to-
I'm with Bill, I definitely want to at least get a committee together and discuss options and costs, and we gotta get the ball rolling, we need to do something. So, I'm with Bill on this one.
Okay, so we've got those things, anything further? Other than what we left, the DPW, Plainfield by Fire, fairground requests, and the appointment of the EMA director. So
The other question, I keep seeing Tannerite, I saw one letter months ago, are we gonna address that, drop it off, or do something?
Actually, I forwarded the letter to the police chief, who was contacting the state fire marshal to see if there are any state regulations that apply.
Can I tell you that there will be any day now, one way or the other? The state's gonna take that up any day now, one way or the other.
And that being the case, we may not have to deal with it.
This town can certainly provide more protection though. So you, as a council, you could still take up the issue, regardless of what the state does, as long as you provide more protection and not.
My inclination was to see what the state had to say before we did it. It may not require us to do anything locally, it may. That's why it's there, because we haven't dealt with it, and I think it's probably premature for us to do. But I didn't want us to forget that we did receive that.
You got a hand up.
I'm sorry, Mr. Walden.
Okay. Would it be possible to ask the town clerk to contact the people appointed to the charter review so they can get together quicker? So they know who each other are and they contact? Do you have that information?
I do, I know she's been appointed right now, if you're going to continue
I think that's it.
this.
Unless someone on the council absolutely believes we should
I will do
appoint
that,
anyone.
I'll send you all an email.
Any other future agenda items? Okay. Let's go into our budget workshop. We have to get through our entire budget tonight because next week is the public hearing. At the public hearing, the public will have the floor and be able to speak to any issue as long as they want. This evening, I'd really like to try to hold the conversation between the council members and the various department heads that oversee these budgets so that we have a good shot at getting through it, and then I will allow public to speak as much as they want next week. So, does everyone have this new revised document?
It's in the packet.
Okay, is everyone's back?
And I gave everybody an updated expenditure report too.
Okay, that's here. Okay, so I'm just gonna try to quickly go through and each department, make sure that everything has passed muster, and we have just three folks that approve this need to go forward. So the first is the Department 11 Legislative Legal General. Is this okay to move over as proposed? Is everybody okay with this, or are there any issues?
I'm not okay with it.
Okay.
And the reason why I say that, we have supposedly a contract that I never heard, seen, asked for, never got it. Was told there was one, was all inclusive, not inclusive, even when we voted to appoint it.
It was in your packet a couple of weeks ago.
I didn't see it.
It was in information only, I put it there in everybody's packet. It's not tonight's, but it did go to
I
everybody.
do have one.
It's been put in the packet. I can tell you that I was ready to address this in a closed session so that I could speak freely to the
That's fine,
council.
we can do that.
But I don't want it to appear that anything is not being said, so I was gonna attempt to do it in an open session, but then I can't get into any detail. But I'm prepared to address it right now, open session, unless you wanna hear it in more detail.
Well, let's see what everybody else has to say.
What's your,
I'd like a little time to go over this too.
Well, the contract itself is not really what I'm addressing. The issue is what has come since then.
Understood, but my point is we're hiring somebody, and this is the contract with the full parameters of what your job is, so it's very important for me to
It's
review
one
this.
paragraph.
Excuse me?
I'll take care of it.
So it's very important for me to review it.
Where's the rest of the council? I'm okay with moving this whole budget over as proposed.
don't know. Second,
No, it's not really more.
Can't vote, Roger.
It's a workshop, so.
Okay.
Other folks stand, other comments?
I believe last time, Renee, when, at our budget workshop, it was, a question was asked that if you are not able to attend, is there legal counsel that could sit in your place?
Yes, certainly. In 3 years that I've been here, I have been excused on 2 meetings. The last one for this session being, I was in a arbitration labor seminar in Florida. The weather was so bad here, I didn't want to come back. I got on the phone with the town council. I couldn't come back, I was afraid to get stuck. The town council president, I called him, we went over the agenda in detail.
I don't think anybody's a.
I'm just explaining.
Right.
So that one time, and he said, we don't need you, we'll call you, okay, don't risk coming back. I didn't think I was gonna make it back to Rhode Island anyway. It was the last ice storm, so there's been one absence. Certainly, if the council wishes, I would appoint an assistant solicitor that in my absence, or just if things get busy, it's been extremely busy. We're in federal court, we're in Superior Court with 2 things. We've got council meetings, we've got budget, we've got negotiations over contract. Planning, I'm still trying to get to all the time. Zoning, certainly, if you'd like a second solicitor, that is not an issue, and it would not affect that figure right there. With that figure, no trouble. And I would bring that to you in the next meeting, it's on the agenda, because right now that isn't on the agenda.
and any figure that's proposed, you take care of every, board or
Oh, yeah.
committee in the town, correct?
The issue, absolutely, the issue now is we've got 3,
I know.
4, 7 outstanding lawsuits that we've never had before. We've got historic pension litigation.
Yeah.
I'm in federal court now with something that's on the front page of the newspaper, so I can say it. We've got a landmark case, medical marijuana, we're being sued. That's federal. And I can tell you right now, if the trust does not assist us with attorneys, which I have been accepting and I don't have to, I can turn them down and charge myself, which some other firms that have been proposed here in this town certainly do. There's a minimum of $3.25 an hour for federal court. That is the bottom minimum. And I am certainly licensed and I practice in federal court. So I can turn down the trust and I can charge you $3.25 an hour to do that. And we don't have a choice. We have to answer it. There's no choice. So, and I took a slice, if you'd like me to just address it, I took a slice today of a day in the last, couple of weeks, just a single day. And I was dizzy just writing it out. And I suggest to you that any solicitor for a municipality or a CEO of a company that is sitting down doing emails to their ward every day and doing timesheets isn't doing anything else. Because I've done billable hours, I've worked for large firms in Florida. I have an attorney I can talk to right here. If you're sitting doing billable hours, you're not doing a lot else. I spent 6.5 hours in the town hall. We were spinning 2 telephones, texting. I was with Kelly, we had the trust, Jane came in, I met with her. Patty comes by, I talk to her, the chief comes in, we go over his issues. I can spend 6.5 hours a day easy in there, but I'm not in-house counsel. Unfortunately, the town is just the client. But the town is my largest client, I'll admit that, but it is just the client. So I can only spend 4 to 6 hours at a time in the town hall, and then it becomes a full-time job, which this is not intended to be. So I, again, took a slice, I'll dig it out if you want to think about it. It's amazing, and I could spend more. There is so much to do. I could list for you all the things we need to do. We've got ordinances that have never been looked at and codified. We don't even know if the ordinance book that's going out is a good one. That's the general ordinances. We've got planning issues. We've got a comp plan that was never done. Kelly and I have issues all day long. We're working on tangible taxes, several other issues. The tax collector, we need low-value sales. The town is holding property that shouldn't be holding after all these years. We need to get rid of that property. We need to do a lot of things. But right now, the pension litigation is historic, and rather than sitting doing the 3-page little report that I did for you today, I probably should have been down in Superior Court, because that's where our current information is coming from. And we're working on the gag orders, which makes it much worse. We went to the trust the other day, we spent hours there. I spent 3.5 hours separately in your office going over a personnel matter. Then I went to the other attorney's office on the east side. And if I did it in billable hours, you'd be paying me to drive from here to the east side and back. You'd be paying me to drive to the trust and come back. I never charge anything like that. I do a lot that isn't even close to being billed. So I am very, very comfortable that this, which is actually embarrassing to me, that 62.5, and we did it just based upon, I don't do percentages because I don't work for the town. It doesn't matter to me, unfortunately, what other town employees get. It's like saying to Rambone, oh, I'm sorry, the town employee's got a 3% raise. Your contract can only have 3% in it. He doesn't work for the town, he's a vendor. I am, pretty much, I get a 1099. I get no benefits, I get no credit for working for municipality, even town council members get that. I get none of that. I simply get the salary. And compared to Situate's $275,000 last year, I checked with the clerk, Coventry was $300,000 prior to this new solicitor, and I'm sure he's over 200 there. I don't think we have any less problems in Situate, the ones that they haven't created. And I will tell you that the zoning board and the planning board and others, I do what I do to stop litigation, not create litigation. I could easily, oh, we'll do that when it comes out, I'll go to Superior Court and settle it. I do everything, and you can talk to the chairman of the zoning board, you talk to the planner. We do it not to not have litigation. I'm trying to intercept things prior to them happening. And I could spend more, and I'd like to spend some more time in the town hall, but right now, I could spend 6.5, 8 hours, and I walk in one side and I say, you can't talk to me today, I'm only talking to her, and I walk in this side and I say, I'm on the finance side today, only taking finance issues, because I'll be in there 8 hours a day, all day. And I've been, and I don't mind. I enjoy it, people are fantastic people, this is my town, and that's why I'm doing it. The chief knows, he come in my house 2 or 3 times a day in my office. Whatever you need me, walk in. If we're gonna put warrants on the table, if we're gonna charge people, let me know ahead of time. I want us to include it at the AG. I wanna walk in the courtroom and have them respect us, and they do now. When I get up in that courtroom for Foster, they don't ask me who I am, they don't ask about our roads. I tell them we have the second most dangerous roads in this country, Route 6 and 101, and I want it treated that way. And the judges say it, and they kid. Oh, we know who this is, and we're not fooling around here. And again, you can ask others, don't depend on me. When I got up recently in a courtroom at an arraignment, the judge says, why is this being 23A to Superior Court? I said, Judge, I'm here at the arraignment, I don't need to do it. I'm at RITT at hearings, pre-trials on a Friday. I'm at the arraignment calendar to help every single time. I do the pre-trials every Wednesday. 3 days I devote to that, which isn't even in my spiel about how many hours I spend in the town hall. That's other work that I have to do. When I got up, the judge, happened to be Judge Moore, she said, oh my gosh, they're 23A in this because they're afraid of you. Because that particular defendant was not going to walk away with anything but the max if I had it. He's better off going to the AG. So, I mean, question the people I work with, but this is the lowest you'll ever see for any single attorney. And if you want 2 attorneys for a low price, which I've seen before, I was told when I came here that there were no files. When I asked for the files, when I first came in as solicitor, I was told there were no files. I've got 2 lateral file drawers, 2 legal size, and a desk piled up to here. How can there be no files? When I first worked for this town, I worked 24/7 for 6 months to catch up. A DVR judge at the liquor control was screaming, where's the attorney for Foster, because they put him off for 5 months for that Woodland Meeting House debacle, which you all paid $9,000 extra for on top of that salary. So if you go with a lower price, you're gonna get that. You should have put that 45 in your pocket and not even paid it. For this, I can tell you that I'm doing a minimum of double that, and if anybody wants to sit with me, they can. But I don't have time, if I'm gonna serve all these separate department heads, to sit down and do billables and justify what I'm doing. It's simply, I go through 2 phone batteries a day. And I'm constantly moving, constantly. Any questions? Do it that way.
Okay.
The chief has some.
Chief, yes, sir.
Yeah, again, all that and more, she's done an excellent job, this is her, actually, both Bellrock was, they've done an excellent job in the criminal courts, I can't speak for what, they do she does for the town, but our conviction rate is up there, probably way above most communities. She's well respected in the Attorney General's office, the Superior Court, the District Court, the cases that she does take to trial do end up in convictions. The plea agreements are made, whether it be in district court or, and again, she works close with the Attorney General's office. She does an excellent job. Our office, she's always there for our officers, 24/7. If you need legal counsel, again, she's on my speed dial, the captain's speed dial. Again, she's well worth what the town of Foster pays her.
I'd like to add, I'm not picking on anybody, I think everybody that works for the town does an excellent job, goes above and beyond, so let's give them all 16% raises.
I don't work for the town.
Well, I'm just saying,
Rogers, I'm
this is
independent.
a 16% increase, so I think everybody does a great job for the town. But not everybody's
Percentage.
getting that.
It's 1/4 of what a solicitor gets for any town surrounding, probably a third. Average is 240,
Again,
250,
I guess so.
just
For
to
either
let you
that.
know.
So, I've heard from 2, I've heard from 3, right? Two yeses, 1 no, and 2 not weighed in yet, so where are we?
I think that that addressing legal issues before they become problems is very important. A little bit of money up front can really go a long way to saving money in the long run. Having an increased amount of attentiveness, and I do see in other communities, a lot of times when you see low prices, it's because they have open-ended limits on things like litigation or prosecutions where, all that you're paying for in a really low price is for them to show up once a week. And that's really all you're paying. Everything else you're paying out of pocket as it comes in. Certainly the parameters of what the solicitor does for the amount is relevant. That's obviously not what we're talking about. I don't think that that's an unreasonable amount.
Please, do you?
No.
Okay, well, that's 3 in favor, so move it over. Anything else in legislative legal we need to discuss?
May I say something, please? Okay, never mind.
Thank you. A week from today, I'll entertain
That's all I wanted to
everybody.
say.
Robert 12, planning. So I had sent my comments while I was away, spending 7 hours a day in the rehab center with my father. I put this together and recommended that we increase the hours for the planner, the planning director on this. Currently at 20 hours. I recommended that it would be great if we could have a 24-hour per week. Obviously, I'd like to have a full-time planner, but I don't think that's in the cards this year. To make it 24 hours per week, that line item would need to go to $36,955. That's what I would recommend. I'd like to see 24-hour week.
I'd like to discuss that a little. You weren't here, but we did take into consideration the notes, and this kind of tailed into the building and zoning official discussion. And the reason why you don't see nothing highlighted in here is because we had a consensus of 3 that agreed with the way it was set up. So are we gonna rehash the whole budget again, or, because I thought we were just gonna move through with things that we hadn't
We're just,
had a consensus on.
we're just gonna move through every department,
And I
make sure
thought we were gonna
everybody's,
cover the yellow ones.
everybody's on board with every
What
budget.
did, what's the final figure go with, custom plan, I think?
What I proposed, well, see, there's something highlighted in gray here, that's 3796. I proposed 36,995. That would move to 24 hours with a 3% raise.
Okay.
I'm not sure that.
I thought we were just discussing.
You should have.
We've gone through all this.
And that's what I would like to see.
I think it's fine for this, but she should.
That's a lot of that. I'm in favor of planning, full time.
This is not a full-time.
No, it's not full-time, right?
It's on 24, I know, but I'm in favor of planning, full time. So this is a move in the right direction.
And as Gordon said, we had discussed this, looking at what you had given us, and we had moved things over without the increase.
So what is that number? That number, the 3796, is no raise and no increase in hours?
But, because, again, this is saying things with yellow that we had wanted to further discuss. We had a consensus of 3. So we shouldn't even be really looking at the pages that don't have a yellow highlight, because we're just gonna rehash everything that we spent 4 hours on, and we'll be here well past midnight after the executive session, so.
We don't have to hash it for very long.
All right,
If you disagree with me,
let's get a concession.
3 people say no, and we move on.
I'm all set with the way it's presented, the way we worked on last time.
Did you have a way to make up that increase somewhere else?
I do. And that's going, and I've discussed it with Kelly. Near the end of the page, near the end of the budget, on page 15, there is a line item that is capital 2% budget, the additional estimated capital transfer is set at $240,000.
More than that, it's still about 4%.
Right, we are currently, with this budget, about approximately $50,000 above the cap with the way it's here in front of us this evening. And going through every line item, there's really no place to find 50,000 or, with my proposal, 55,000. Except coming out of that additional capital transfer. So we had originally talked about putting $240,000 additional operation funds towards the capital to help make that fund healthier. I'd love to do it, but I think we probably can't afford $240,000 extra this year. We can probably afford $180,000 extra this year. And that's where I would propose, once we go through this whole thing, is that we would reduce that line item by dollar for dollar what we need to make it happen.
Well, that's what we said at the very beginning of budget talks, if we can get the 4%, it would all come out of capital to make the 4%. And that was decided the first night.
Yeah.
And we're 67,000 over.
And we're less now,
Right. Now, all right, so we're going to back up.
but not that far, so.
No, we're not done with the budget yet either. So let's just undo everything we did the other night.
Are there any other matters that aren't highlighted that you were hoping to address?
Well, it looks like, let me quickly flip through. Building and zoning,
The one
No,
topic
that
that we
looks
did not address,
fine.
the one topic we did not address because the DPW director was not here, and
Yeah.
I didn't feel comfortable discussing it without him. That's the only department that we did not discuss.
finance, I spoke to most of the people. Finance I'm fine with. The assessors, you have a yellow block on educational, we need to discuss. General admin, we need to discuss, that's still all in yellow. But I don't have any issues with anything there.
Well, I mean,
Services, I spoke with Human Services Director, she's fine with the way that is, community funding, fine. Refuse removal.
I would respectfully ask that we're going to reconsider our concession, then I would like to go over everything and reconsider everything again. Put it all back on the table. If that's,
Go through
if
each
that's what
one.
you're gonna do, then that's what I'm gonna do.
Wonderful. And the last three, votes, and if you get 3 votes to change it, we'll change it. If we get 3 votes to keep it, we'll keep it. So, the only thing I'm asking the planning budget is I want it to be considered for 24 hours. Everything else, it looks fine.
I think that when we discussed this last, we mentioned that the 3% raise is a little premature given the interest in that. But I think otherwise, our increase.
So if
That was my response, John.
Okay.
If you recall, last year, I did not vote to give the newly appointed DPW director the raise that we were giving others because he was just newly hired.
Okay.
I do understand that we want to get them up to par, but I really felt that for me to say yes to the planner this year, when I said no to the DPW director last year, would not be fair.
Okay.
So,
the, if we were to raise that line item to 24 hours with a 3% raise, that would be 36,995. If we were to raise that line item to 24 hours with 0 raise in the first year because she's still less than 1 year, it would be 35,879. I would be fine with that.
That's what they're referring to, right?
Increase the hours, but not
36.
give the 3% raise in this first year.
35, 8, what?
35,879.